So Kevin C85 says, literally just went through a month and a half of interviewing, 4 separate interviews, first with the recruiter, then the manager, then a panel, and then a presentation, all while continuously being moved on to the next round and told I had very positive feedback after each round. Found out yesterday I didn't get the job. Literally the most exhausted I've ever felt from applying for a job. Well, thank you to Kevin C85 for sending this in. Listen, you have my deepest sympathy. The sting of rejection is real, and especially after you put in such a large amount of work here. 4 interviews, including a presentation, is nothing trivial. So, I mean, that sucks. Having said that, I have a couple of comments here. First of all, this whole lack of honesty on behalf of recruiters and organizations, telling you that everything is fine right up to the point where you get rejected, unfortunately, that's a lot more typical than you would think. And I'd love to come down heavy on recruiters here, but I really can't do that because that's basically how all negotiations are. Everything's always great until it's over and it didn't work out. The other thing that I'd like to comment on here is that I get a lot of people asking me, they have a sense of loyalty to organizations. If they're interviewing with one company, they feel bad about taking an interview with another company or starting the negotiation process for another job when they're already talking to one company. Listen, that whole loyalty thing, that's really admirable, but this story here is living proof that loyalty is misplaced because these companies, all companies really, they have no loyalty to you. They have no loyalty to you up until you sign an employment agreement with them and you've sort of, started working for them, okay? Anything beyond that, it doesn't command loyalty, okay? So if you're talking with 2 organizations at once, great, do it. If you get an opportunity to do an interview with another company while you're already in the final stages of accepting a job with one company, take it, okay? That's just the reality of this stuff, okay? So thank you to Kevin C for sending this in and showing us all that. Okay, this is one from Amy M, and this is from a horrifying job interview video I did. Amy says, I've had multiple employers include a personality assessment as part of the interview process. The problem is that they feel more like psych evaluations. I get asked questions like, true or false? I am happy with how my life has turned out. I am confident 100% of the time. I am motivated in life. A lot of questions that you would see in a survey used to screen for depression. It feels invasive to me, considering these have been for accounting jobs. Wow. How is this acceptable, and what are employers looking for with these assessments? Well, Amy, another great question. First of all, there are a few basic rules of what organizations can do when they figure out who is a better candidate than whom, okay? Basic things like human rights, okay? Now, depending on what country you live in and what region you're in, the rules are going to change, but apart from those simple little rules, it's open season for organizations to come up with whatever crazy reasoning of who's a better candidate. And let me tell you, some organizations have come up with stuff that's just idiotic beyond belief. They can ask you like how many times a week you wear all purple, and using that determine who's the right person for the job. I mean, there's no limits, okay? So sometimes you're going to see this. Now, in this case here, to Amy, I would say this. If this is for an accounting job, it might be a surprise to you, but the way it works is that when organizations get a stack of candidates, okay, they get a stack of candidates to interview for a job, most of those candidates are going to have met the technical requirements for the job, so they can all, on paper, do the job. What the tiebreaker is going to be between these candidates is often soft skills, and it's also going to be the psychological factor, okay? Soft skills are things like your charisma and your communication skills, okay? But also, the psychological factor is important because if it turns out that you absolutely hate every single one of the working conditions for this job, chances are is that you're not going to work out. You're either going to quit early or they're going to have problems with you. And besides, you would probably just not want to work there. Okay. And what we found is that those are really the reasons why candidates end up not working out. It's usually not because of the technical requirements. So this is what they're doing here. This is why they're focusing on this. Now, that being said, this story you've told, it does signal a couple of things about this organization that you're interviewing with. First of all, what I'm getting from it is that they don't trust their recruiters. They're not allowing their recruiters to give you their gut feeling of what they think of each candidate. Instead, they're requiring these formal psychological tests. Now, that tells me also that this organization is very risk averse, okay? They're trying to cover their butt. So if the person that selects you and then you don't work out, they don't want to be blamed, so they're going to fall back on saying, well, hey, this candidate took all the standard tests and the scores show that they would have worked out. So it's not my fault if they didn't, right? That's what they're doing here. That's typical large organization behavior. Okay, but thank you to Amy for sending that in. What else we got here? Okay, this is in response to a video I did on how to answer the job interview question, what is your leadership style? Now, Pax Eterna says, what do you think about this answer? A good leadership style will be a type of leadership I can trust that will read well the situation, and it will adapt the leadership style to the style that makes the job done, whether it is autocratic or more democratic/consultative. By the way, you are awesome. Okay, well, thank you, Pax. You're awesome too. Listen, okay, obviously what I think is a good answer is what I said in this video. I will put a link to that video on your screen now. Okay, but if you're asking what I think about this answer, it's not the worst answer in the world. You said a couple of things, but two things jump out at me immediately. Number one, I would work on my grammar and sentence structure first. If you literally said that to me, this answer here. Secondly, it's too brief. Okay, you did mention three styles: autocratic, democratic, and consultative, but you haven't defined those, you haven't shown that you know what those actually mean, and you haven't explained why you would use them or not use them in different situations to really show that you know what you're talking about. Okay, so it's not awful, not the worst answer in the world, but I still think you could improve on that a little bit. But thank you for sending that in, and the fact that you're attempting this question means you are awesome. Okay, James Jones says, are you on LinkedIn? Yes, I am on LinkedIn, and some people connect with me. Unfortunately, I don't connect with just anyone. I only connect with people I really know and I work with, but there's a possible exception there for people who have taken my courses. So if you've taken one of my courses, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and say in the connection request that you've taken my course. And if your name and identity, match up with someone who's actually taken my course, then sure, I got no problem with connecting to you. Okay, this is a good one. So this was sent in by Scott Mayfield. Now, Scott Mayfield received this response to a resume he sent in to apply for a job. This is what he got. It says, "Dear candidate first name, thank you for applying with company. A great deal of thought and consideration went into reviewing the qualifications of all who applied." Yeah, it seems like it. After careful review of the impressive resumes we received, a small group of individuals was selected for the interview process. Subsequently, we selected another candidate for the position, so you didn't get it. Ah, dang. We sincerely appreciate your interest in our position and encourage you to blah, 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 blah. We wish you success. Sincerely, and then no name. That's beautiful. Okay, so Scott then sent this response to that message. "Dear Ms. Whatever, thank you for the opportunity to apply for the role of position with company." Though disappointed that I was not selected as the candidate of choice, I can fully appreciate the amount of effort that was not invested in an actually proper disinclination letter. Thank you for the minuscule amount of time invested. Regards, candidate. That's beautiful. What can I say? Look, I'm not going to come down on Scott too harshly here. This is the kind of response that we would all love to send, and a lot of us have sent. God knows I have sent my fair share of responses like this and worse when I was younger. But here's what I will say, okay? A couple of things. Number one, it has been known that sending this kind of hostile response, although satisfying, and I'll be the first to admit that, can directly harm us, okay? These people can blacklist you, certainly at their organization, and they may have powerful friends. What are the odds, right? Okay, odds are is that that won't happen, but it has been known, and why run the risk? Why do you care about these people so much that you would risk damage to yourself and your future prospects by doing this? Although I certainly can understand why you would. The second thing, and this is a little more abstract, is that, how can I put this? If Scott or anyone has ambitions to become a leader, either to rise in an organization and be a manager of a certain area, or a people manager, or be a leader in any other capacity, okay? If that is your ambition, or may one day be your ambition, just so you know, a trait of good leaders throughout history, like this has been established in antiquity, is being able to control your temper and not responding to provocation. So not being provoked and not being baited. If you think about the great generals, military generals throughout history, they've been the ones that haven't been provoked or baited into being ambushed. And if you think of high-level politicians today, it's very, very rare that any of those people really loses it with somebody in anger in public, because it invariably comes down worse for them when they do so, okay? It also is the opposite of inspiring your subordinates, okay, or being inspirational. So if that's an ambition of yours, you might want to think twice about doing it, but I won't blame you too much if you do. A lot of times responses like this deserve that kind of response, because they're disrespectful and they're ridiculous. They're a real advertisement for how much they don't care and don't respect people. And I would say this has been sent by a recruiter that's either overworked, underpaid, or just swamped. And I'm being kind here. Okay, I'm not mentioning the fact that they could be completely incompetent and have no business working in their current profession. But that's what I'm going to say. Thank you so much, everybody who sent in comments. You guys are awesome. Keep them coming. And I hope to see you on my next video. Take care.